into champion select, but you have to think that Vici Gaming, with this new lineup of Dandy and Marta especially, it'll take them a little while to get used to this vision style, a little bit longer to get used to exactly how these Koreans are going to be playing with them, and I think that once they do find that synergy, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But bans coming through thick and fast. It's going to be Janna and Tristana taken off the board here for WE. They do not want to see that in the bottom lane. Very, very strong in the hands of Vasily and Marta, and Rek'Sai, of course, pretty standard. She's never going to see play.
Yeah, they're definitely the trademark champions of both Vasily and Marta, the Tristana and the Janna there. So understandable to see those bans come out. Rek'Sai, until we start seeing a couple of those nerfs roll in the later patches, maybe we'll see a tone down. The Sivir ban comes through here as well. STYZ's not traditionally a Sivir player. In fact, has Sin really struggled on that pick.
Yeah.
It kind of loses his hyper carry mentality, and it doesn't really fit into the Sivir train, much like I thought Uzi might, but of course Uzi's actually been a fantastic Sivir player so far this season. So to actually ban Sivir against someone who's struggled against Sivir, I kind of question that ban from Vici.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to get through here. Of course, Hatong's Kassadin is going to get banned away, and that is definitely a high priority ban there, but the likes of Jarvan, Lee Sin, of course, Rumble's still available as well, and Gnar is available in that top lane. There are so many high priority picks still on the table. And Vasily plays all sorts of different AD carries, as does STYZ. I think they're probably looking for a potential Corki pickup here if we do see the Sivir being banned away. But there are going to be a lot of high priority champions left on the board, despite what gets through. And it's going to be Xerath taken off the board here as well. And I like that just because of his predominant play here in China.
And probably the surprising thing to me is you look down the bans here, one jungler banned, one flex pick top laner banned. It's usually been the top lane and jungle pool that have been decimated in early games. We've seen people snapping up both Jarvan and Nunu in successive picks just to deny junglers from the enemy side. But the Jarvan's picked up first here, and it looks like they're thinking about that Yordle.
Yeah, and this is very, very dangerous because World Elite have picked the Jarvan, and it means that Vici Gaming, they can't pick both Gnar and Rumble, surely. So they're going to get one of these mega combos here. Ninja going to insta-lock that Azir in response to this Thresh Rumble that's been locked in, and you have to think that Spirit, he can just happily lock in that Gnar, and they have got a gigantic teamfight already available.
Yeah, I really do like the insta-lock of the Azir right here. The Gnar is being mulled over, probably going to be picked up as well. So some really powerful picks here. The Narvan combo that has been coined over the weekend. 5-0 in competitive play, at least in the NA and EU LCS. Seeing a lot of competitive play in LCK as well.
Has actually been played here in the LPL, though, and didn't win the game.
Wow, okay. But still has a lot of momentum.
Certainly does.
It's one of those kind of hotbed topics, just like Jarvan Rumble was many moons ago. So to see the Azir pick up as well here, this is the comfort champion. This is finally the one champion that Ninja's really performed on this season.
You mentioned that he's impressed you on that Azir.
This is the start of a strong draft from WE, and that's been one of my other concerns for WE. It's been some very questionable drafting, but look at the champions that are still available on the fourth rotation of picks. We might see a Lissandra come through right here. So that's what happens when you start banning these AD carries, banning these flex picks, is that you suddenly show up with an embarrassment of riches at the later parts of the draft.
Yeah, and it's to the point where, they're going to be last picking that AD carry as well, just because there's so many things that they want to gobble up in this draft phase. But looking fantastic so far. STYZ thinking about the Ezreal here, but Dandy on Lee Sin. This is something I'm incredibly excited about. The last time we saw him pick up this champion, so impactful across the map, and you put Dandy on a champion that can build a Sightstone easily, and who else is that other than Lee Sin? And he's just going to have control of this map.
And the viewers might be wondering, why not Rengar? Because, of course, Dandy's Rengar, one of the most feared picks in the world, was really that Rengar that really catapulted Rengar to being one of those really highly contested jungle picks, available here and not picked. But you look down this Vici Gaming side, Lissandra peaks in the mid-game. Rumble peaks in the mid-game. Picking up an early-game jungler to get them to that mid-game faster, to really snowball the lanes, makes more sense than having to have that more passive jungler. Of course, Dandy does defy the passive title on Rengar just because he's so good with communication, but this is still a lineup that's forming. They still probably have those communication issues as they're trying to really formalize this lineup. They're probably kicking themselves when the schedule came out and they're like, oh god, we have to test ourselves against EDG and OMG in the first week. They would have liked to warm up to those top teams. Looked like they warmed up last week though, so I'm so excited to see what they pull out here.
Yeah, and if we do actually get this Corki to be locked in as well, you were talking about a mid-game focus. My god, how you could not have a more perfect team comp to focus for that mid-game, and especially going up against WE, who are all in for the late game. I mean, Sure, Caitlyn's going to be good in lane. She's going to be able to, shove out early, get peacemakers across the wave, all that sort of stuff. But goodness gracious me, that mid-game slump, that's going to be felt hard by World Elite.
Once the sieging starts, once WE starts to get in position for the sieging, you look down this Vici Gaming side, so little initiation tools. All their power is getting those picks in the transitions and trying to get the vision advantage. And look, if you ever want a duo to get a vision advantage, it's Dandy and Mata. So they've really picked themselves, Vici, here into defining their own destiny. It's all on Vici Gaming to take advantage of their strong points, of their team lineup, of their vision control, and snowball the mid game. And they've got the picks to back it up, at least on paper, the players to back it up. They've set themselves up to succeed, but W have a very solid comp right here. They have power in the early, mid, and late games. It probably peaks in the late game, but they do have power across the board. And it looks like we're going to see a lot of fighting here, so it should at least be a really exciting game.
I certainly hope so. But one thing I do want to bring attention to, and it's not necessarily something we want to talk about, but Aluka hasn't been looking fantastic when they've picked up that Nah. It's sort of not necessarily had the rage meter on point as far as making sure that Mega Nah is available in team fights. And we'll see whether Aluka can really make up for his past mishaps on that champion and really bring it to Vici Gaming this time. Because Aluka, he deserves some victories, and he's been copping a lot of flack. And let's see whether he can turn it around.
I mean, earlier in the LPL, our main storyline was communication. Will these Korean imports affect communication? And the one team where that clearly was a big impact was World Elite. We saw in the very early games with Spirit on Rengar diving in with the bowler strike, backing away, and then the re-engage coming out from Conan on support right there. So there was really some clear communication issues. And so now we're looking at the World Elite lineup right here. They look a bit stronger. They look like they've been able to work through those things. But we have to have a pause here, so plenty to talk about right here. I do like the fact that they have a comp that has one clear idea.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, we'll see whether they can bring it to Vici Gaming, but the thing that I'm worried about for World Elite is the fact that they've got this comp that's sort of very reliant on being in that late game and being able to get to a point where they're relevant at that stage. And we've been seeing these teams that do pick for the late game not have that work out for them. I mean, Snake just before, not having a great time in that first matchup just because they picked so late game heavy that they really couldn't make it work.
It's not just late game. It's so communication focused to get those combos, to get that Jarvan Cataclysm into the Nara ultimate, of course. There's so much communication required to pull that off for a team that's been struggling on that. I'd be excited to see them pull it off, but I'm hesitant.
Yeah, we'll see if they can do it as we get onto the Rift. And we're on the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, with World Elite taking on Vici Gaming. World Elite desperate for a victory here to help put a few more points onto the board. Of course, 0-10 thus far, and Vici Gaming starting the pressure early as a death sentence lands onto Spirit. There's a resonating strike to come through as well, and he's getting burnt down so low, but didn't have to blow that flash.
Yeah, Vici Gaming clearly have a plan right here. They want to get that lane vision to have an idea of what the lane setup's going to be. Luca's in trouble.
Mato, it will have that death sentence available yet again, but Aluka just takes half of his health and is forced to go back. Vici Gaming already with their feet on the pedal.
Yeah, the kill there would have been a bonus, but again, it's all about getting that early vision, making sure they're in the right lanes. They have a rumble here, so they're very flexible to a lane swap, but of course, Aluka on that Nah, he can also 1v2 quite happily. Be interesting to see what exactly Vici Gaming's plan is in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and we'll see. Do you think that they're going to benefit from a lane swap here, not have to go up against that Caitlyn? Do you think that maybe they'll have a different idea? Maybe they feel confident that they can go up against anything?
I think if you're Corki, you like to opt out of that Caitlyn matchup just because Caitlyn has such a natural pushing advantage that if you're using those Phosphorus Bomb, using all your mana on clearing creeps, you really lose that lane bully status that Corki's often in. This is one of the few matchups where Corki is the victim rather than the lane bully. So opting out of that lane makes a lot of sense for me if you're Vici Gaming.
We'll see whether they do as we have Caitlyn and Morgana moving up to that top side of the map. And it is going to be standard lanes here in an upside-down fashion. But the blue buff steal has begun already. Carry and Dandy just hanging out together, doing some double laning here. Carry going to teleport to that bottom side. And standard lanes will commence.
Very interesting to see Carry instantly teleport down. They did not look for any sort of jungle follow here. Happy to opt into the standard lanes. World Elite have counter-swapped here just so they can ensure a 1v1 lane matchup. But look at this. With the creep break right here, they're actually denied from a lot of experience in this first wave.
Yeah, and Vici and Mata really putting the pressure on, commanding the respect in this lane. It's not what you'd expect. STYZ on this Caitlyn has a lot of pushing power, and that Dark Binding can threaten a lot of CC as well.
Spirit looks like he's pathing over to blue here. Of course, jungling on the bot side here is safe for him. STYZ, though, on top in trouble. Takes a bad trade. They do have the level disadvantage in top. This is one of the few times I've actually seen a Caitlyn lane on the back foot.
Yeah, and it's just very strange to see, especially considering they're against a Corki here who has one of the lowest ranges in the game.
Absolutely.
As Dandy doing some vertical jungling here as well. Both of our junglers are going to be able to pick up 2 buffs, but just in an opposite fashion. Everything going the wrong way around here as we hop back to the top lane. And more scuffling going on. STYZ has popped that potion, whereas Vici's holding on to his. Seeing whether he can be helped by that Relic Shield in order to not actually have to pop that one. It's Phosphorus Bomb to come through. They're shoving this wave.
I feel to some degree we might see the impact of confidence and playing with Flare in this top lane, just because although they've picked a lane with a on-paper advantage here in the Caitlyn and Morgana top lane right here, of course, STYZ and UJ have struggled so far in the LPL. Even that hyper carry, even that very respected hyper carry player, STYZ, really hasn't been on point so far in the LPL. So Vici, even in those losses, actually played really well. In one series against OMG, he was 10-1-9 on Tristana in a loss. So he's actually been performing despite his team's relative struggles. So he's playing with confidence, STYZ much on the back foot, and he's going to need to change that mindset because he cannot let Corki come out even or ahead in this lane.
Yeah, it's actually Carry roaming up through the jungle here. Spots Spirit out, but not going to give him any trouble while he takes those Raptors. And as you mentioned, yeah, Vici having a pretty decent time so far in his return to the LPL. And STYZ not necessarily being heralded as the hyper carry of status that he may have been sort of hyped up for.
Yeah, he definitely was put on a mantle. He's probably thought of to be maybe a 3 to 4 AD carry in such a region so well known and so revered for their AD carries. So he has a lot of hype to live up to, and so far struggled, but it has to remember that's a team struggle as well.
It very much is, and you can't put it on the back of an AD carry player that does need that front line there. We'll see whether Aluka can be that for him today as Dandy up here in the top side of the map. World Elite playing very far back though. Uncharacteristic for this lane, but intelligent at this stage.
Absolutely. They have no vision at all coming down this river, so just trying to play safely right here. They have a safe combo there at level 4. UJ will definitely have all his skills available now. And we see Danny just invading the Gromp right here, getting some advanced vision down and ensuring there's no counter game coming out from Jarvan.
And do you think that it's on Spirit to really make something happen in this early game on this Jarvan as well? I mean, we've seen Spirit pick up this champion quite a few times. Of course, started off with some unconventional picks early on, but so far opting to go back into that Jarvan, more standard junglers, as just both of these guys, they don't want to go into the top side of the map. That's not what they're about. They want to stick down the bottom.
There's kind of 2 flavors to thought when it comes to Spirit's pathing right here. He could play really aggressively, but if he's ever counter-ganked successfully by what has to be said is the king of the counter gank in Dandy, then he's going to accelerate the mid-game push that Vici is going to be able to put on and perhaps start an objective snowball that World Elite will never be able to get themselves out of. However, if he just relieves pressures from his lane, allows things to go even for as long as possible, that might be an advantage, but in mid he's in trouble.
Level 6 being hit immediately here. Dandy tries to lock down Ninja, but it's a nice flash to get him out of trouble. And Vici Gaming still with the pressure.
But that's the start of the communication plays we've spoken about for Vici Gaming there. Dandy was always known on Samsung White about being in the right lane at the right time. There, the moment that Hetong pinged 6, the ultimate came down, the game came in. That's very nice rotational play coming from Vici, and something that could be a big part of their play moving forward.
Yeah, and look at what Vici have done as well. They've noted the fact that it's 6.5 minutes into this game, the Dragon is going to become a thing to contest, and immediately Carry teleports into that top lane. Make sure that you have one person up there and keep your bottom lane down here. Have the manpower available around that neutral objective.
But it does mean that Aluka has a significant teleport advantage so far right here, and Carry does not have the teleport available with the Equalizer. Of course, the Equalizer is perhaps the most game-defining first Dragon skill in the game, and it will not be available here. So I do like the fact that they'll have 2 members there to stop Vici Gaming, so to stop World Elite stealing away the first Dragon, but not having the teleport on Rumble is a big deal.
Yeah, and the thing we were mentioning, though, Vici Gaming, having Dandy and Mata on that team, it's going to mean that there are going to be a lot of wards on the map, and you can see WE's map, or their base, their side of the map is just lit up for Vici Gaming everywhere.
It's the start of what we expect to be a consistent trend from Vici Gaming. Very aggressive warding from them, but worrying for World Elite here, little to no warding whatsoever. Not even on their own side of the map, but they're not even considering putting wards on the enemy side of the map.
Yeah, Dandy stealing away this blue buff yet again. Now we'll see whether Hatong's going to be able to get one for himself. They'll probably roam back to that one as soon as possible, but Dandy might make a stop here in the top side. No, decides against it.
I mean, it's to the point where Vici doesn't even think that World Elite have a realistic shot against the enemy jungle. And worrying thing even more than that is the World Elite don't seem to think they have a realistic shot either. To have no aggressive wards down whatsoever compared to a complete aggressive ward train with only a 300 gold lead. A very nothing lead for Vici Gaming here. World Elite playing from behind.
Spirit may be caught out. The Sonic Wave does land here from Dandy as well. Flag and Drag used defensively, but there's the Claw coming through, and Spirit gets locked up by the ultimate. It's a decent ult coming through from Ninja, but not quite enough, and the fight is broken out here. The Gnar comes through, but doesn't do much. Dandy's going to fall down. It's going to be Morgana picking up that kill, and Vasily needs to get the hell out. Gets hit by a house, but he's going to be okay with that flash. Dark Binding barely grazes the behind of Mata. And that was so much closer than it could have been.
All right, World Elite have a massive advantage here, but no smite available, so they're not going to look to take the dragon here. Spirit actually would have been the first one to that objective because he respawned about 5 to 6 seconds before Dandy, but they just leave with a blue buff. They leave with the minimum for what is a favorable trade for them.
Yeah, they did well as we have a replay to come up of that last fight.
So looking at the replay, Spirit goes for a bit of a walk on the enemy side, gets caught, and I love the flash coming out here. Hatong realized there's no way for Ninja to contest this first kill. They hope they can get a kill and run out here, but of course Aluka has the teleport advantage in top. He uses the Gnar, just pops onto Mata, so he kind of get the minimum here. If he'd held onto that Gnar a bit longer, they might have been able to harangue Vasily next to the wall. Of course, he used the Gnar ultimate without flashing right there. Dark Binding just whizzles past. It's a win, but it's a win as a trade for a 5-minute cooldown in terms of that teleport right here. So look for Carry and Vici Gaming to organize a dragon pickup very soon.
Yeah, and it's all switched around here as well. You were talking about the power of having that teleport advantage. Carries is about to come up in about a minute or so, and Aluka's is 4 or so minutes away. So we'll see whether Vici Gaming are going to be able to capitalize on that one as Dandy clearing out vision yet again around this dragon. It looks to be the next point of contention for both of these teams as Spirit's hanging around as well. He is going to spot that ward out, but Hatong's here as well, and they are just clearing every pink from World Elite.
Hatong has consistently been first to react to these little skirmishes here, playing on the front foot of Vici, playing with confidence as we would expect from their 3-1 showing last week, and for the fact that they're playing against WE here, who have really struggled so far in the LPL.
Yeah, we'll see whether they can turn it around, though. Of course, that first fight not looking too bad. There's definitely a chance here, but we'll have to be with that Gnar available as well, who's in Mega Gnar form, about to pop back to adorable form now.
Worth noting that despite basically standard lanes right here, there's a 500 gold lead from VG with basically from standard lane. That isn't jungle pressure. That isn't any sort of rotational play. Just standard lane. They have significant CS values. 13 CS to 15 CS is the advantage in the top lane for carry. In the mid lane, it's a 15 CS advantage. In the bottom lane, it's very even. 5 CS actually advantage for SDYZ. But that's to be expected. He has the Caitlyn pickup right here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, of course. Sooner or later, that range advantage is going to have to come through. And Spirit going to clear out his wolves, just really trying to farm up to a point where he's going to be able to gank relevantly, and of course wants to get to that stage where he's tanky as well. I mean, at this point, Jarvan not the tanky monster that he wants to be. We'll see whether he can get to that point. You can see Dandy, he's prolonged getting that jungle item because he wants that Sightstone and he wants it early.
Right, it's his defining characteristic as a jungler is the ability to counter gank and to control vision. And guess what? Counter gank is all about having advanced vision on the enemy. So they work and they interplay together so well. He's not about damage. He's going to get that warrior enchantment just because it's so slot effective on Lee Sin, as we see Aluka take a very unfavorable trade in top. But that's just his playstyle, and it's been so successful as we can see on the world stage.
Oh yeah. Luke, you're going to get a bit of health back by turning into that gigantic Gnar form. As Spirit going to try and take... Yeah, he gets it. Scuttle Crab goes over to Spirit. Definite advantage there.
The Scuttle Crab's such a contested objective these days just because for those junglers, it's an 85 gold pickup, a massive gold pickup once you have a jungle item down here. So VG, they have the teleport advantage still. There's no reason they shouldn't go for the dragon. You look at the wards here, very minimal warding from World Elite. They have some idea it's happening, but no realistic chance to try and take it, and VG, they take the first dragon.
Yep, very nicely done. They're going to secure that one easily. Dark Binding was not quite enough coming through from UJ. STYZ tried to get it with a Peacemaker as well, of course. Smite just a little bit too strong. And Vici Gaming with an easy first dragon. And wasn't that easier than that fight that we had before?
No, not the easiest. See, STYZ has gone for the early Avarice Blade here. Kind of makes sense on one side. Oh my goodness, as the binding does land on Vici.
Yeah, Vici gets caught. There's the ultimate to come through from UJ as well. He almost manages to keep the tether on that Soul Shackles, but not quite enough to get the stun.
Just probably the Phage proc there, actually getting that extra MS was just enough to get the evasive maneuvers out of that Soul Shackles. Millimeters difference between what would likely have been a kill for STYZ and WE right there, and still able to lane quite happily as Vici.
Yeah, and with that Phage as well, I mean, he has a lot of health to help back this one up. It's one of the fantastic points of getting that Phage early on. Gives you maneuverability and that extra health buffer to help you out in lane. Vici utilizing that one as Ninja's going to take away this blue buff. Finally, World Elite managed to pick up one of their own blues.
Yeah, their objective control's been fine this game. They haven't been allowing too much. They've probably been allowing too much aggressive warding coming out from the very aggressive jungle pathing of Dandy. But they've lost what justifiably should have been the first dragon. The first dragon was locked up in Champ Select, to be honest, here for VG. Once you have Rumble, Corki, who's done just fine in lane, Lee Sin and Lissandra, you're not really wanting to opt into contesting a dragon if you're WE.
Hetong and Dandy both moving up to this top side. Of course, this tower very, very low. Luca does have the flash. He's going to jump out, but there's the ult to come through. Dandy kicks him back. The wallop's going to come through onto Hetong, but Aluka so low on health. Gets caught up, and that's Dandy easily securing that kill.
They might even take top turret here. Here, WE getting so much damage on this mid turret, only Thresh to defend it. I mean, you'd always take a trade of mid turret for top turret right here, but of course the kill tip's slightly in the advantage of VG.
Yeah, but VG doesn't look like they're stopping. Actually, no. Carry going to back away from this one. Could have got some healthy damage on that inner turret. Ninja and Spirit just trying to back off from that middle lane and clear out some of this vision.
Starting to see some of that strong laning flavor of STYZ and Caitlyn right here. 600 gold is actually quite considerable in a game where there's only 600 gold in it. So World Elite doing quite respectably in the bottom lane here. They're going to DPS down this turret and actually probably come into the gold lead here as World Elite. And we haven't actually been able to say World Elite was in a gold lead at 15 minutes into a match, I believe, in any of the games so far.
Yeah, this is definitely positive for World Elite. And Vici Gaming, I mean, the pressure's on them to win this match, you have to say. I mean, if they drop this, they're arguably almost thought to guarantee this. As the engage comes on to Carry here, Aluka's popping that Hyper, and Carry just doesn't know where he's going. Spirit's going to catch up. There's the Chilling Smite as well. Flag and Drag's going to get the knock up, and that is an easy kill as another blue turret's going to fall down.
Yeah, Carry was probably smart then not to use his flash. He, of course, was considering flashing the flag and drag, but he would have died to a counter flash there, whatever the situation. So another nice kill picked up there for World Elite. They're playing well this game.
They really are, rotating around the map quite well as well. And you can see the fact that Spirit not playing sort of that really overly aggressive, I have to be carrying this game. He's supporting his team this time, and this is the change that you have to say he probably had to make.
But again, VG have picked for the mid game here. We're going to see the Trinity Force coming out so soon from Corki right here. This is the time where they need to turn it on. The next 10 minutes or so could decide the game. If they're not able to get a decisive advantage before 25 minutes, you have to like World Elite's comp right here in the late game. But VG's mid game power is undeniable. Rumble, Lissandra, Corki all peaking in the mid game. So it is on them to make the most here, but it's on them, as you were making the point earlier before that fight, it's on them completely in this series. Anything less than a 3-0 is a massive loss if you're Vici Gaming.
It very much is. And Hetong, including Masteries and Runes, Hetong's at 40% CDR already with those Lucidity Boots and the Morellonomicon. So that ultimate, the Glacial Tomb, is going to be up all the time.
And so much consistent CC coming out in the fight between the Q and the W there for Lissandra. Yeah. Those equalizers, level 11 already, he has his double magic penetration working on that Zhonya's. That Carry equalizer could be impressive.
Yeah, and you have to think that if that Frozen Tomb does come down, Carry has the easiest equalizer of his life. To just layer on top of that, there's going to be so much CC, but they need to find the right moment to do it.
See World Elite trying to defend their wards where they can. 1 minute till Dragon's up. Carry, again, will not have his teleport up right here. So he's actually been struggling to have teleport up for these big objectives. Wadley looking in position very aggressively.
Yeah, Tong coming through. Spirit actually gets locked up here. There's an equalizer, but not exactly the one that they want. And Carry's going to go down immediately. Empress Divide to come through. That's a nice gnar from Aluka here as well. As Tong's taking a lot of damage. Martyr as well. He puts down the boss decently here. And SDYZ solo, Ninja also solo. It's a nice barrier. Hatong gets caught out, and that is a double kill for Ninja.
Yeah, decisive teamfight win for Wadley there. It could have even been more. If you watch that fight, SDYZ took the 3 to 4 seconds to channel up that ace in the hole to secure a kill, but was actually bunched on top of Ninja. They almost both perished right there, so some questionable positioning, but you can't argue with the kills. That's a big win, but they need to get in position for this Dragon right now, as it's only 20 seconds to its roll. So we see the replay right here. Spirits is positioning so aggressively right here, and this is the one time that Hatong's really misfired on this ultimate. It was much tankier than he expected with Spirit right now. I thought when the equalizer came down, they'd be in trouble, but the Emperor's Divide and the gnar is massive on both Dandy and Hatong right here. SDYZ's free hitting, and Vici are kind of in disarray once Vasily eats this binding, the Dart binding, and instantly gets DPS down. Hatong gets focus fired from 3 to 4 people right here. They all survive, so Wadley do win that fight, but they need to try and translate that into this Dragon.
Yeah, 4-for-1 trade in the end there, going in favor of World Elite, who now have a decent, a mentionable gold lead. Is SDYZ going to pick up this red buff as long as it doesn't reset on him too much?
And we should focus on Ninja once again here. 3-0-2, he's gone for that Abyssal Scepter build. But Ninja's Azir, this is one champion where he's finally looking like he can translate his very safe and capable laning phase into teamfight impact.
Yeah, it may actually be in contention for a ban here to come through on the side of Ninja, so very respectable play coming through from this Azir. And this Dragon going down very, very low. Could be a 50-50 bit. Spirit's going to be able to take it here. The Claw of Doom not going to be acted upon here by Hatong, and the Equalizer just zoning out the team, but no follow-up.
The communication between Hatong and Carry, the two Chinese solo laners of Vici, needs to be on point this game. An Equalizer without any lockdown coming down from Hatong is going to be a fairly wasted cooldown. They don't have any other control CC unless Martyr is already initiated right there. So they need to be very decisive on their calls here to Vici. Otherwise, this impressive Equalizer that Carry's farmed up, 139 CS, 24 CS ahead of gnar, is going to be not useful.
Oh, Spirit going in aggressively. Carry going to flash out of the way of that one. Spirit's going to die because Dandy see the Emperor's Divide to come in. Hatong, he ultimates himself in such beautiful fashion and gets gnarred for it right into the wall. As World Elite now try and disengage this fight. Carry to come in, look, overheating with that Flame Spitter. Aluka is getting burnt to the ground. Vasily free hitting in the backline. SDYZ, all of your friends are dead. You have to go back to base, and VG turn it around.
We mentioned communication for Vici. It was the same story right there. You saw shades of that first Rengar game when Spirit went in aggressively. No one was looking to follow him whatsoever into that cove next to the enemy blue buff right there. He was freely DPS down, and then World Elite was just target practice for Martyr. They fell down there. Very poor communication from both sides. They need to regroup quickly, recognize their powerful points. For example, how strong Ninja's AoE space control is going to be on this Azir right now so early in the game. But World Elite, very questionable engage.
Yeah, but Hatong using that Frozen Tomb on himself to avoid the ultimate coming through from Azir was so beautiful to watch. Incredibly perfectly timed from the mid laner for VG. So you have to hand it to them. They managed to turn that fight around exactly how they wanted to with fantastic play as well. And
we're going to see the Zhonya's out very soon from Hatong here. Of course, 5 seconds of invulnerability coming out for that frontline Lissandra to complement the 40% CDR. I do love this build just because with so much CDR, a lot of those cooldowns are actually going to be up the moment you're out of 5 seconds of stasis. Yeah. So it's a very nice little combo right there. A few more levels in Glacial Path, and she'll even have an escape tool once she's out of that stasis. So very nice synergy between those two items. Very standard items, of course, on Lissandra, whereas Azir has been playing very smartly, but Ninja cannot really go into melee or aggressive form in this match just because he doesn't have the Zhonya. Zhonya's been the key item in all our winning Azir games right here. He's opted for the Abyssal, which means he has fantastic teamfight damage, but he does not have that invulnerability, that reset button in a teamfight.
And as we just saw there, Hatong's Q is almost as fast as her auto attack would have been level 1. So looking pretty good as far as being able to layer those skills, layer that slow as we get through into this one. Danny going to clear out the bottom side of the map, and World Elite just looking to reconsolidate and sort of find out what they can do to get themselves into this game. Because, of course, their late game going to be fantastic, but They've got to try and avoid fighting VG while they're so strong. Of course, Trinity Force being finished. You can see both of those Zhonya's Hourglasses are also completed. Smarter just going to sidestep the Dark Binding there.
I mean, it's very difficult to communicate just how much item power spike has been completed on Vici Gaming right here. The double Zhonyas, the Trinity Force into Sorcerer's Shoes. The mid game is on, and this is the strongest point for Vici for the whole match right here. It will only get weaker as the minutes pile on. And very importantly here, World Elite are doing just fine. They're actually going to rotate to the top lane here. If they take down this turret, they're actually going to have a gold lead against a mid-game team right here. So the rotations from World Elite have been very on point right here. And if they can get over this mid-game hump afforded by the so powerful mid-game comp Vici's picked right here, World Elite in good stead for the late game.
Yeah, World Elite actually sort of free reign of this top inner turret as well. And that equalizer not going to deter them. Able to take that one down, but Vici Gaming, they want to trade that for an inner turret in the mid lane and an outer turret in the bottom lane as well. You have to think getting a couple of towers here. Going to go the way of Vici, and the backs to come through now from World Elite. You've got Carry trying to stop them, but he's not going to be able to, and that trade definitely working out in favor of Vici.
Whenever a team looks like they're getting an unanswered turret or an unanswered rotation in high-level play, you just need to look to the minimap to see what they're paying for it. And it was a steep price for World Elite, losing so many creeps to the turret here, losing 2 structures, and 2 very important structures in the mid lane opens up so much potential Baron control and aggressive wards coming out from Vici right here. They're really throwing their hand over to Vici and saying, all right, you guys have the initiative. You're going to have the aggressive wards. You've got the mid-game comp. What can you make of it? And it's on Vici to show that they are a top team rather than just one of the middle of the pack teams struggling to get into playoffs.
See whether they can prove themselves as we get into this mid-game for real here. Exactly the time when Vici Gaming needs to make their move. Blade of the Ruined King going to be the next option here for Vasily. So sort of the Chinese special as far as the Corki build is concerned, and you know that he wants to be able to get away from Spirit and DeLuca, so having that extra ability to kite with that movement speed after using that activatable is definitely going to help him out in that situation.
Definitely when we consider the 3 popular Corki builds, them being Trinity Force into Bloodthirster, Trinity Force into Blade of the Ruined King, and Trinity Force into Last Whisper. It's definitely not the worst of the 3, at least in my eyes. I think the Last Whisper build is a bit questionable given the amount of mixed damage that Corki puts out. I just love the Bloodthirster build just because it gives him so much poke. He has 80 scaling on basically all his abilities other than Valkyrie. And they seem to give him, the defensive option as well. But Blade of the Ruined King is an excellent situational choice for that self-peel. And against Narjav, and I can't really argue.
Yep, working out well. But Dandy does find himself a Dark Binding as he tries to clear out this ward. He wants that ward so much, but the pink ward, it's going to die. World Elite win the vision battle.
Okay, watch World Elite here. They cannot afford to clump onto a hook, onto the box, onto the Rumble Equalizer right here. If they can avoid that skill shot, if they can avoid that line of death, they have a very good shot of picking up this Dragon in this team fight.
Yeah, it could be a 50-50 though, because Spirit is very, very close, and this Dragon's going down low. Spirit actually lands the Cataclysm here, and here's the layering of that CC. It's a nice equalizer this time. Hatong comes in. There's all of the invulnerability. The Dragon hasn't been taken yet even, as Aluka falls down. A Sun Turret's going to fall in amongst it as well, and that's 3 dead already for World Elite. Only Dandy going to die, the hero himself, as STYZ and Ninja limp away from this one.
The power of that Lissandra pick was on full display right there. She plays like a frontliner despite being built like an AP carry. So much zone from the Lissandra ultimate into the stasis right there. Ninja and STYZ, the 2 carries for it, are at full health, but they could not get any auto attacks or spells in. Such was the zoning power of the Equalizer and Hatong stasis. Lissandra's so strong. Yeah. We're going to see the replay right here. The engage is fine. They try and lock down carry. The equalizer is very good, but look at how much space control Hatong's ultimate. And you see Ninja and STYZ in the background. How much damage they got off in that last 5-6 seconds of the fight? 100, 500 damage maybe? But the really smart team fighting and grouping from VG completely negates the fed carries on Team World Elite.
Yeah, definitely working out for them. And these are the kind of fights that Vici want to be taking. And of course, they know that they can get them when these neutral objectives are up. But can they do it underneath the turret when they're sieging down? Because we saw World Elite answered with that inner turret in the mid lane. 1 more inner turret is available. They've taken 5 on this map with a late game comp. It could actually be a bad sign here for Vici Gaming, because World Elite, they're nipping at their heels. It's 500 gold. There's nothing in this.
Yeah, I'm just counting the turrets, because of course we do have to deal with the Azir factor here when
true.
it comes to turrets being taken. I believe it might be 5-all. I am willing to be mistaken. I'll let you do a cursory church as we look at the action right
4
here.
to 5, actually.
4 to 5.
Taken a few Sun turrets.
So very, very close is that turret race right here. And we see Vici positioning so aggressive. They have those 2 mid turrets down, and they basically say, all right, this blue buff and this Baron control is completely ours.
Yeah, Luca does have his teleport available, though, but they're pinging out that inner turret in the bottom side of the map. They're thinking that a trade might actually work out in their favor to World Elite, as Dandy going to use that safeguard to get him to safety after Ninja does put down one of his soldiers.
We have to watch Aluka's rage here to kind of get a window into World Elite and what their play calling is right here. So much rage, he's ready to teleport and have that Gnar available. If he pushes on any further, if any more auto attacks, of course, he will activate that Gnar. And the rage management has kind of been the difference between the top level Gnars in competitive play and those that have kind of tried to bandwagon what is undeniably a strong champion, but who has that really unique setup mechanic that, of course, Gnar only has.
And he's wandered away from this top side of the map. I think he was wanting to teleport in with a full Rage Bard, but it's dissipated now as he heads back down again. And the siege is still on here on the top side, but STYZ able to clear out these minions quite effectively, especially considering the items that he's picked up. Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, and of course the Last Whisper. So this Caitlyn is getting past that mid-game slump, and you have to think that Vici Gaming, they're on a timer.
I do, however, if you're going to compare where the split push was on there was got so much pressure coming towards the inner top turret for World Elite compared to the inner bottom turret for Vici. And that's definitely in Vici's advantage, just because when they back off, they're backing off towards a Baron they know they have basically exclusive vision on. Yeah. Whereas, of course, Gnar was just pushing on to an outer objective, and I guess blue buff technically, but not realistically, a second objective. So if you can have a fail-safe of picking up an uncontested Baron, it's a wonderful spot to be in if you're Vici Gaming.
And of course, Atong doesn't care too much about those blue buffs as well. Has his passive to help him with that mana, and of course, already has 40% cooldown reduction.
Absolutely.
So.
It's very unlikely to see him go out of mana in a team fight, even without
no.
the blue buff right there. He has the 40%, so I guess the blue buff's going on to Corki. He's the only real mana-based champion left in this game, and Corki with blue buff, scary thing.
Yep, feels good. You can definitely rocket people pretty quickly as Atong and Dandy are going to continue stealing away World Elite's jungle. And not too much action actually happening here across the map. You have to say working out in World Elite's favor, but Vici can't find their way in. They can't crack World Elite's base.
And even though they have the compositional advantage in the late game, so much is going to be split-second decisions. So much is going to be team play calling, areas that we've seen World Elite struggle with immensely, even in this game, let alone in their previous 10 losses. So there is still a lot on World Elite. It's not just a case of, all right, it's 50 minutes, we got this game. They're still going to have to make the really decisive team fight calls, and I think it's on Spirit to really make the most of that.
Well, Luca may have been caught out, but he's going to bounce his way back to the forward brush. Vici Gaming now looking to try the other side of the map. See whether they can get something down, but it's been a while since World Elite has really had control of their jungle camps, and you can see there's just so much vision coming through from Vici Gaming on this bottom side and the top side as well. And there's just no wards at all inside Vici's base because they know that they've got all the control.
But it's been World Elite playing on the back foot all game. Even at 6 minutes, we saw the aggressive wards coming down from Dandy's invades and posturing towards the World Elite blue buff. But it hasn't translated into a massive objective snowball. It hasn't translated into a gold lead. 500 gold is basically an afterthought at this point in the game. World Elite have lost the minimum so far, so they are in with a really big chance when this next dragon comes up.
Not to mention the fact that Ninja's got a Rabbidan's death cap now as well.
Yeah, the damage is crazy on this Azir, but I really don't like the fact that he's completely foregoing the stasis, the Zhonya's here. It's those Azirs that have been able to get into those team fights. Wow, so Carry takes so much damage there. But those Azirs that can position aggressively get out so much more damage that it kind of negates the AP difference between the two items to me. The ability to really play aggressively is so much more important to me than just sheerly having better AP ratios.
Speaking about playing aggressively, got a few hits on that inhibitor turret in the mid lane as well, did STYZ, utilizing this Caitlyn and her ability to just relentlessly push these turrets As the Dragon now getting started off here by World Elite. And we'll see whether Vici Gaming want to try and contest this one. Carry is around, but it's going down incredibly low. Marta's going to land the Descent. Spirit's going to get caught up by that one. Azir takes the Dragon, but look at the kills coming through from Vici Gaming. The Emperor's Divide isn't bad, but Dandy's found him here. Does get the shield from the E, but I don't know whether it's going to help him because here comes the cavalry. The last harpoon's going to land. Dandy takes a lot of damage, but it's not enough. And Aluka, the only one alive because he wasn't even there.
The only way to describe that situation there, Atlas, is a bluff. It feels like World Elite were bluffed into thinking they could freely DPS down and get out of that fight. But of course they paid for it. There's so much AoE, CC, and Engage coming out from Hetong. The ultimate came out, the equalizer came out for VG. They cleaned up that fight, and now they have position on Baron, no wards whatsoever, and only a Gnar to contest this objective.
Yeah, Aluka does have full rage here, so he could potentially come through and try and get some work done, but you can see he's feeling pretty sheepish as Marta just breaking the Banshee's Veil and trying to keep this Gnar out of here as this Baron is down so low. The ultimate to come through, actually, from Hetong, and Aluka just... You're tanky, mate, but you're not really going to do much about this Baron.
There's no impetus whatsoever to aggress onto Aluka right here. It will take far too long to kill him. We see quite a big minion wave crashing onto the inner bot lane turret for Vici, so that's not optimal. But of course, picking up a Baron just for a bit of inner turret damage, not the bad trade at all.
Not too bad at all. And Carry actually had his teleport, and without much neutral objective on the map at this stage, probably could have used that to get there a little bit quicker, but not going to lose that inner turret. And Hetong going to be able to easily clear that one out. Stretching his CS lead there in the mid lane to over 50 here as well. And 4 items now completed for Hetong on this Lissandra. That is very, very scary. That death cap coming through on top of the Zhonya's now as well. And look at Carry. All of the magic penetration that he could want, apart from the Abyssal Scepter, has been completed.
And you have to feel like Ninja's pigeonholed himself into this role in teamfights. There was no pun intended there, Atlas. I know you're ready to pull the trigger on that one. But the reason why I say it again, it's that choice of the early death cap right here. He's not going to get the consistent damage we've seen from Rookie, that we've seen from Pawn on Azir. He's really struggling to have teamfight relevancy, and Hetong's going in.
Yeah, he's gone in so deep. Already ultimated himself. Takes out the Lantern as well. Already has the Zhonya's, but look at Carry as well. In amongst it, turns golden, and Vasily takes down the bird as well. And Vici have just pulled the trigger and decimated World Elite. Aluka and SDYZ, the only ones available in the first inhibitor. The base gets broken now of World Elite.
The front line just explodes for World Elite right here from the sheer damage coming out from the double AP, let alone the hybrid damage coming out from Vasily right here. They have no answer for the front line damage, and this mid-game comp is turned to a late-game comp. And unfortunately, SDYZ, he can't free hit on that Caitlyn because his tanks are just dying too damn quick.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, when you've got a mid-game comp like this, you need to get this kind of lead by the mid-game in order to storm through in the late game. And they finally managed to get it. Of course, World Elite kept up with them for so long throughout this game, but it's only been recently that Vici have really pulled the trigger. And you have to think that World Elite, they were so close.
Yeah, the Baron buffs really tipped in their favor. Afforded that really easy turret dive coming out right there. Although Corki, a very strong turret taker, they don't have the most range on this VG side. Only really Hetong and Vasily able to range auto attack down a turret. So why not diving with Hetong? And that's why we see so many Lissandra bans coming down. Anyone who can build and do the damage of an AP carry, but also have the pseudo tankiness that 5 seconds of stasis provides. That's why Lissandra's the pick ban champion we see so far.
Yeah, such a regular statement in that ban list as well. So really working out here for Hetong, and I love the fact that it's a flex pick as well, allowing Carry to pick up the much contested Rumble pick there for the top lane, and it's been working out to great effect. But you have to think that Dandy's pressure in the early game has really been what's helped Vici secure this victory. He's been brilliant on this Lee Sin.
It's been a very consistent strangulation of World Elite, and I feel like when World Elite watches the replay right here, they'll notice the difference in vision from 5-6 minutes into the game up to this 36-minute part. There was never really a point in the game where their vision suggested to me, all right, we're in this game, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be assertive, we're going to really go and take what's ours. Instead, they've always been reactive and said, all right, let's lose the minimum. All right, they have those wards, but they're not getting any kills, they're not getting any extra objectives. But when you strangle someone for so long, or strangle a team for so long, you're eventually inevitably going to pick up the big advantages, and that's what the Baron has proved to be this game.
Oh yeah, and of course, when you're World Elite as well, you've had such a rough run, you don't make the aggressive plays as confidently as well when you come into these matches. And you could see with World Elite backing away from engages early and things like this, it's obvious that they're feeling the pressure of those losses.
You definitely do. It's one of those mindset situations where you want to lose, minimize the losses, minimize the embarrassment. But in playing safely, you just give extra resources for the enemy to play with, that extra psychological edge to play aggressively and know that your first instinct's not going to be to counter aggression with aggression, but to counter aggression with this defense that we've seen from World Elite.
Yeah, and you can see Vici now. They don't have the strongest siege. They're not quite able to get too much damage on these turrets, so they're trying their best to split push around, make sure that World Elite are dealing with super creeps at every turn. And this top wave, it's actually pushing out now for World Elite, so Vici on a little bit of a timer here because they will have to deal with that eventually as it lands on their inhibitor turret in the next little while.
I feel like
they do have some time.
There we go, the fight's on.
Pulled the trigger. There's the equalizer in the backline as well. Huche actually almost dying from that one as Carry. He's going to turn himself golden as Luca got a decent Gnar in here as well. Carry's going to flash out of this one. Dandy's super low. Ninja almost fell down as well, but Vasily blocking it out. The hero that everyone needed, and Morgana the only one to fall.
And that's where we start to see the shift towards World Elite winning these fights. It's so much more difficult if they can't get a decisive pick on a frontline. If they can pick Ninja, if they can pick Spirit, it's very easy for Vici to just run over this World Elite team. In this case, it was only UJ falling. Very high health on both Aluka and Spirit during that fight, and so much harder for Vici to break the turtle that World Elite have put in right here. Caitlyn under a turret, such a safe champion, so much wave clear. It could be very difficult for them to close out this game. Maybe they'll just wait for this next Baron. Only 1 minute 30 till it spawns.
Yeah, you have to think that with an inhibitor down as well, it's going to be easy pickings for Vici Gaming, and we'll see whether World Elite can make the decisive move in order to pick that one up, because they definitely do not want to have to deal with Vici Gaming with another Baron.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this Abyssal, while the immediate power jump is nice, he's now pigeonholed himself into getting that Zhonya's. He's still 1,000 gold away from that item. It's going to be so late in the game until he has the percentage magic penetration you want from the Void stuff. And it's kind of why we see Infinity Edge, PD, Last Whisper builds, why we see these common meta builds is they maximize your damage, but Carry's in trouble.
Yeah, Carry's been caught here on the top side. The equalizer comes down, but it's just an afterthought. Nice scrap shield's going to come through, and they do manage to trade 1-for-1 because Ninja just gets obliterated in the backline.
Yeah, mid for top trade is excellent for Vici. They have the teleport up on Carry when he's back. If they can keep this pressure on.
Dandy's going in. He's continuing. Tong is right in there. He's got that Zhonya's and held himself up, and that's a double kill already for Vasily. Spirit now is going to go down. Hatong's back again. And that is only STYZ alive, and that fight was messy, but exactly what Vici needed.
Vici fighting like a team there. Although it was the pick on Carry, they had the rotational play to answer with an instant kill right there. And you saw STYZ once again could not get any autos in the backline. He's completely zoned because his team is not playing for him. His team is not playing around him. And Vici, I think they're going to finish it off here.
Yeah, and they're easily going to be able to take down these Nexus turrets, and a little bit disappointing here for World Elite because they looked like they were in there in the mid-game, but then just fell apart as Vici made the decisive plays, the plays of a team with momentum behind them to get them these victories.
And we can't excuse World Elite for being a new team because, of course, Vici is perhaps the newest lineup of any of the teams in LPL, having so many imports with Vasily to complement the Korean duo that they brought in. It was just a late-game capitulation for World Elite, but once again, they probably weren't expecting to win this game, and they did take a lot out of some very smart play in the early games. They negated what was a compositional advantage from Vici by playing very smart around that really strong mid-game combo right there. So credit to World Elite. Again, the second game in a row now, some things to take away there, but also some questions and some reflection to be done to really move to the next level, to really finally get that first big win. So let's see if we have a replay maybe to illustrate some of the things we saw this game. It's actually a fairly early fight here at 20 minutes. We'll roll the tape. So WE, they were trying to get this second inner turret right here. Spirit goes in very early, and look, there's no Rage Bar on Aluka. There's no real way to cap on that. Spirit dies for free. And when that first frontliner goes down, Vasily's able to free hit in the backline. Aluka does manage to get a nice Gnar there to get an answering kill. But the difference between a World Elite team that's engaging smartly with Spirit and difference when Spirit goes in a bit too early is that unfortunately all their targets just dissipate right here. STYZ has to flash away, and that was the recurring story for STYZ right there. He got those big 80 carry items on Caitlyn. That's his trademark champion. We've seen Caitlyn pentakills coming out from STYZ back in his LGD days. but that's not what we were seeing right here. He never had that front tanky line that he needed to be able to carry.
Yeah, and he was often seen as STYZ sort of on his own at the end of these fights, wondering where his team's gone. Of course, you need that front line in order to hard carry, and this is a thing that we did mention at the beginning of the match, and hopefully World Elite, they can turn it around in Game 2, because it is going to be coming up, ladies and gentlemen, very, very soon for our almost last game of the night. Of course, one more series to go after this one, but World Elite with Game 2